name is Adrian Carty. I'm the host for tonight's conversational festivities. On behalf of Penny Casey and McAllister's.
Can I hear you?
Hello? Yeah, better?
No.
Back up. Back up again. Start again? Yep. Start again. My name is Adrian Carty. I'm your host for this evening's conversational festivities. On behalf of Paddy and McAllister's Bar, I'd like to welcome you all this evening to our conversation with Joe, who'll be down here in 2 seconds. Small bit of housekeeping first before we start about anything. If you have mobile phones, please turn them on, take calls, go nuts. You paid your €25. The night is yours. No problem. And I can see by looking at the crowd, there's a great mix of people here. There's more bar that come in, hopefully soon enough. A mix of I want to get man over the girl. One. Sorry, yeah, so mobile phones, take calls, TikTok dance, do whatever the fuck you like. 25 quid, done, no problem. There is free Wi-Fi here this evening as well. The network is Damien Duff, the password is 21. So have at it for that. So just for this evening anyway, Joe and I are going to have a very kind of well-rounded conversation. We're going to talk about this, that, the other thing, not just about The Sopranos. So we'll have a conversation for 40 minutes, half an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, God knows where it might go. At the end of that, we're going to have a Q&A and we'll go out to the audience. So have a couple of questions prepared if you want. Just a note from Joe, a couple of things he likes to talk about are his PIN number, his home address, how much money he earns, his thoughts on Dublin Airport, which he's got a lot of thoughts about Dublin Airport. So the more personal, the better. Really get into it, hammer him about all things to do with his own life, everything about that, the alarm code in his house. He loves all this kind of stuff, okay? So if you have anything you want to ask him, just think about it. And in half an hour or so, we'll pass on the microphone to anyone who wants to talk about it. All right, so that's enough for me, because you're not here to see me, you're here to see Joe. So please, enjoy your evening, and a nice welcome for Joe Ganascoli, please.
Glasses up. To my Irish Mick friends, here's to your sisters. All right. Let's get this started.
So you're very welcome, Joe. How was the match last night? Everyone wants to know.
Dundalk won. They pulled it through. It was a good game. First soccer match I ever watched beginning to end.
Is that good?
I usually watch Italy in the... Who's the fucking sound guy here? All right.
There you go.
I usually watch Italy in the World Cup. But I enjoyed... Switch? We're going to share the fucking microphone? What's the fucking difference? How's this? All right. So, yeah, I watched it beginning to end, and it's a lot better when you're closer to the action. It was enjoyable.
Good. So, what is your relationship to Ireland? You're telling me earlier on that it's a bit more intricate than just Dundalk.
We might as well just fucking shout, because this is going to go on all fucking night. Say it again.
So you have a relationship with Ireland beyond Dundalk. You were telling me that earlier on with relationships and cousins and so on. So what's the special relationship that you have with Ireland?
My brother was Irish. That was really my first introduction to Irishy. And my sister brought him home for Sunday dinner. And he had spaghetti with no sauce and just salt on it. And I looked at him, and then my mother, gave me the old thing, don't say nothing. I was like, 14, 15. I'm like, who the fuck is this guy? Who eats fucking pasta with just salt? But he's been a great, he's very involved heavily with the ancient order of Hibernians in the Bronx, New York. So he's been a great brother-in-law.
So go back a little bit. So you're originally from Brooklyn?
I'm originally from Brooklyn, yes.
Okay, you grew up in Brooklyn?
I grew up, yeah.
So you grew up in Brooklyn, sorry. So from an early age, did you have an interest from acting, or was it food, or what was it?
I had no interest in, I was a big sports guy. I wasn't interested in acting or being a chef. I was interested in playing for the Yankees, like a lot of kids growing up. So I played a lot of baseball, a lot of hockey, and I don't know what led me to restaurants. I was in St. John's University. I thought I was going to be a lawyer, like my brother. I lasted about a year. And wound up having a little side business, but had a little weed business going on. When I was like 19. Something, I don't know why, I got out of college and I went to go work for this Lord & Taylor, which is a big department store. I was an undercover detective and, trying to catch shoplifters. I did more stealing than any shoplifter. I got involved in restaurants and I was selling waiters ties and knives. It was pretty good. So, yeah, that was the old hustle in me.
And how did it come to be that you were friends with, or you got introduced to Benicio del Toro? Where did that come about?
It's way ahead.
Right.
So trying to think now. See, 1920. So I kicked around a few restaurants in Manhattan, and I had a friend that was working as another house detective in a famous hotel in New York, and Mrs. Louisiana, she was Mrs. Louisiana, she was Mrs. Louisiana. They came to New York with her husband, and he wound up hooking up with her. And he wound up moving there, living with the family. So at that time, it was in the early 80s, and Cajun cuisine was very popular. And he said, listen, I said, I'd love to come there. I want to live, I want to learn New Orleans cuisine. So I did that, and wound up the whole, staying with the family for a couple of years. I worked in one of the most famous restaurants in America called Commander's Palace.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you were trained at that point as well? Or did you train on the job?
Yeah, I didn't go to culinary school. I'm sort of self-taught chef.
Okay. So, as being a chef, you suppose you're introduced to different worlds as well, different people coming in from a chefing point of view as well. So kind of broaden your kind of interests of the people coming in and the kind of different, being exposed to different cultures and things like that would have opened your mind to, arts and culture and that kind of thing, bring you into acting. Is there a question? Yeah. The question being, how did you go then from the world of restaurants and everything that you're doing for that into getting the acting bug?
So I left New Orleans, worked in a few restaurants in Manhattan. I lived in this building where a storefront became available. And we put together our money, borrowed money. We opened up a restaurant that was very popular. It was late night. It was like almost club. This is early 90s. And we were extremely busy from like the first day on. And I I get bored easily. So, and I love sports. So I became like, I always liked action. We call it action, but I became like a degenerate gambler. And I was betting heavily and lost a lot of money. I was up, down, up, down, up, down. Last game of the year, I lost a ton of money back in 1990. And it was back then, you know, you didn't have all these channels. You can watch games on your phone. It was 3 games in New York. So I bet 1, lost, doubled up, lost. Sunday night football, 30,000, 1990, 60,000. I'm down and looking at the game halftime, and people are saying, "What's wrong with you? You don't look too good." And I was like, you know, pale, and I'm saying, "Holy fuck, I'm gonna lose this game," and I got 60,000 I gotta pay. So I told my partner the next day, I says, I fucked up. I'm gonna pay the bookie, and I'm moving to LA to pursue acting.
It was as simple as that, yeah. Not as simple as that, but that was the decision made for you.
Yeah, I mean, that was it.
And again, why acting? Of all things you could have picked, was it something that just...
Well, before that, while I was chefing in one of the restaurants, a waiter, who I'm still very close to today, Tim Kelleher, said, "We're doing a play, and you'd be right for this role, so why don't you come in and audition?" He had a theater company. As like with any waiters in New York, a lot of them are actors and actresses. And I got the role, and I said, "Hey, I like this." So he said, "Why don't you go study with my teacher?" And I did. And I lost my train of thought. I lasted about 1.5 years with him. He was, I enjoyed watching him teach, but I wasn't really getting much out of it. But he was, you know, a really eccentric kind of teacher. It lasted like 4 years. He taught Ted Danson. He taught several well-known actors. So of course he threw everybody out of the class. He threw me out a few times. I lasted about 1.5 years, and I got out of it and went back to restaurant business. So when I lost all that money, I called him up and he says, "Listen, I've been living in LA. I'm house sitting for this producer. Come stay with me." And I got there and I was like, "Wow, this is beautiful." I'm up in the Hollywood Hills, looking at the whole city. And he said, "Don't get used to it because it's over in 2 weeks." So it was like 4 years of house sitting, and then we rented a place. But that's how really I got to LA.
And did you start kind of after that, or around that period, going out to auditions and doing that kind of trek?
It's kind of funny because you can't get an agent without work, without credits, and you can't get credits without an agent, you know? So I had to make, for me, my life has always been about making your own breaks. You gotta have balls to do what I do. That's where the Brooklyn part comes in with me, to hustle, to make things happen. So I got my first role by just being persistent, and this first role I did was called Money for Nothing, true story about a guy, Joey Coyle, who lived in South Philly, and he found $1 million in the street, fell off a truck, Brinks truck, which picks up money from all the banks.
Security truck, yeah.
Yeah, and James Gandolfini was in it. I didn't get to work with him. John Cusack was the lead. Michael Madsen, who I work with. Benicio del Toro. Who else was in it? Debbie Mazur, Philip Seymour Hoffman, Michael Rappaport. And after that movie, Benicio reached out to me and said, "Listen, I wrote a film, I'm going to direct it. It's a short film. You're going to be the lead, you and Matthew McConaughey." Wow. Which was pretty cool. So we spent a weekend in a hotel. We were undercover cops doing a drug deal. And that was like my big break. And then I had enough LA because I hate LA. It's all scumbags. And what that? I didn't hear that.
It's like drawing it.
Oh.
In between here and
Someone's a lot better. So I had enough of LA. I moved back after 4 years, and I kept in touch with Benicio. He came back east. He did a couple of movies. He got me in those movies. The casting directors were Georgianne Walken, Sheila Jaffe, and they said, you know, you're in our movies, so why don't you come in? We want to meet you. We don't know who you are. I went in to meet him, and they said, you have an agent? I said, no. They said, well, just keep in touch with us every few months, see what's going on. I did that, and they were casting a show called The Sopranos, and the hardcore fans know this. I was a different character the first season. I was Gino in the bakery scene. And they said, we want you to come in and read this show that's going to be a role for a new show. And I was like, I really don't want to do TV. And they said, you don't want to do TV? You don't even have a fucking agent. So come in and do it. I said, all right, that's a good point. So I got it, and it's the scene, of course, you know, where Chris goes into the bakery, and he's not shown respect by the kid behind the counter. By that way, I think that kid was in The Hurt Locker, which was a big movie. And he shoots the kid in the... I'm trying to get pastries and bread. He takes me before Chris. And, you know, my line is like, what about my bread? He shoots the kid in the foot, which is a little homage. I'm sure you've all seen Goodfellas. Right, so he got shot in the foot. He shoots the kid in the foot. So, you know, David Chase was always famous for those little inside jokes. And that was it. And for some reason...
Sorry to interrupt, just to back up a little bit, because it's kind of easy to think now, because TV is so ubiquitous, and McAllister's going to have their own streaming service now if they want to. Everyone's watching TV. But in 1999, like, HBO was known for movies, you know, boxing, that kind of stuff. You know, there wasn't a lot of TV, really. TV was the kind of poor cousin to film. So, you know, it was a big deal, you know, to have a TV show like that, and it's so complex coming out from 1999. So to be on that, I would imagine, like you just said, TV, don't do TV. Probably everyone said the same thing, and then no one would have known how big The Sopranos would have become.
Salud. So, you're talking about Sopranos?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like in the context of 1999,
Yeah.
where TV wasn't a big thing, you know.
Yeah. So 1999, you know, not everybody got on the show. It became sort of a cult favorite classic before everybody started talking about it. By the time I, you know, even caught wind of it, I was going to watch my episode, and I did. And it, you know, took off, I would say, after season 1 and into 2, you know?
Yeah.
But they brought me back as Vito, which was pretty cool. And I think I'm like one of 3 people that played doubles. It was Patsy Parisi, who gets shot in the car, and Cusimano, I forgot, who played his sister. You know, but I was a completely different character. I was Gino, and they brought me back as Vito. You know.
And weirdly, that David Chase was kind of knocking around for years with the Rockford Files and lots of different things. And The Sopranos have been cooking for a few years with him as well to do that. You know, so to have that kind of complex characters. So when Vito was introduced and you were kind of brought into it, do you have any idea of how complex the character would have become?
Well, like I said, you got to make your own breaks, right? So I'm back as Vito. I built Beansy the Ramp, who, by the way, that actor just passed away, Paulie Herman. Season 3, I get to kill Jackie Jr., which is big. And I was reading a book, and this is how I met my friend John. True story about a crew. I was always involved, you know, always fascinated with the mob. I grew up with those guys. A lot of them are from my neighborhood. I read mostly all the books, you know, and you watch The Godfather, and I was always told to, stay away from them. They were right in my neighborhood. They hung out right there. Those are the guys you don't want to be around, you don't want to know. But, I wound up hanging around with them. But I just didn't take that route. But there was a book called Murder Machine, and I was reading this. It's about a crew in Brooklyn that worked for one of the top 5 families. And they had a bar, an apartment above it. And, when you have a family, you have a guy that does a lot of the hits, And they were responsible for like 75 of them. But before they did those 75, John was part of that crew before it got really heavily involved. And he got out of it. He was part of a thing where they were selling a lot of, they call them chop shops. They rob cars, they chop them up, they sell the parts, or they ship them to Kuwait, which was big back then. And when he got out, the guy who took his spot, his name was Vito, oddly enough, and he was gay. And I said, wow, that's kind of interesting and weird. So I brought it to the attention of one of the writers, and I said, I'm reading this book, it happens, and it'd be kind of interesting to do and portray. I'd be willing to do it. Not really thinking what was involved. But being in the restaurant business, you work with gays. It is what it is. So I had no problem with it. Some guys are like, they don't want any part of it. I was like, live and live kind of guy, So I brought it to her attention, and they said, oh, that's kind of interesting. I gave them the book, and I said, whatever you want to do. So that was like in season 4, and you don't want to go up to one of the writers and say it in front of all the actors, like, hey, this is what I could do, this is what I want to do to give me more lines, more scenes. You had to kind of do it on like the down low. So I gave it to one of the writers, and season 5, right before the season 5, they killed a guy in Jersey for being gay, and probably wasn't for being gay, it was probably over money, it always is. And they asked me what the name of the book was, and I said, oh man, they're starting to think about it. And right before we're about to shoot a scene, they said, Joe, we got a line change here. Paulie's gonna come in and say, hey Vito, where the fuck is my Tupperware? And I'm gonna say, take it easy, my wife's washing it or cleaning it, you'll get it next week. And I was like, the fuck, I got a wife now? What's going on? So that's how, well, we'll get to that, how I found out what's going on.
Because The Sopranos or David Chase and his writing team did that a lot. They had kind of drop something in season 3, nothing happens with it at all, and then it comes back in season 4 or 5, kind of throw away lines, little bits and pieces here and there, which kind of happened with Vito and the storyline with Finn and all that kind of stuff. There was all these kind of bits and pieces and how Meadow was dropping these lines in. So it's quite complex. You have to kind of keep up with what's going on. So from an audience point of view, so from, like you said, from an acting point of view, you have to be aware of what's happening too.
Yeah, David was famous for not saying, in life, not everything is tied up in a nice, easy bow. Like, everybody wants to know what happened with the Russian. And some things, you face it in real life. Something happens, right? And you go, what the fuck happened with that? Nobody knows. So, nobody knows what happened with the Russian. But he tried to use things that happen in the actor's personal life and incorporate it into the show.
So like your hips and your weight loss and
that
whole thing. Yeah.
Exactly. So he incorporates that into the show.
And were you okay with that? From bringing your personal life into the acting, were you alright with it?
Yeah, there's a couple of reasons why I didn't like watching the show. One is as soon as they killed me, I had double hip replacement. I needed, my hips were bad. I was always, kept in shape, playing ball, working out. And when I got to be a chef, I slowed down until I could hardly walk. I didn't know that my hips were shot for some reason. And so we were filming that show, those scenes, season 6. As soon as they killed me, I had double hip replacement. You know?
Yeah. I suppose it moves so fast as well in a weird way, because for an hour of television like that, you're talking 5-10 days shooting. Like you go on for 6 months to do a season, and then, you know, another 6 months later comes out. You know, so there's a big birth of time in between when you film stuff, something comes out, you know, all that kind of stuff, and then you get your operation as well. So it's a kind of, it's an unusual type of life in that sense as well.
Yeah, there was always a big gap. People wanted to know why. It was a year and a half before we went to. It allowed everybody to go on and do different things, movies and so on. But I'm going to tell you how I found out what was happening with Vito. So I suggested to him to give me a wife, and during the course of season 5, one of the actors got drunk, probably drinking what I'm drinking, and left the script in in a cab. And they freaked out. Now season 5, you know, the press would be all over us. We went back to filming. There were huge crowds wherever we went to shoot. And they didn't want to leak what was going on. So they stopped giving us the scripts. We just got the sides, which is the scenes that you're in, you know? So the crew got the script. Set director, set decorator, hair, makeup, costumes, because they had to prepare for the next episodes. So we had our little moles, and we would always ask, what's going on next episode? Am I getting killed? Am I in it? Do I have any good things? And that went on for a couple episodes. I'd ask my guy, what's going on next episode? He goes, no, you're not in it. You are in it. You got some good stuff. You got a couple of scenes, so on. So this one time I asked him, I said, what's going on next episode? Am I getting killed? He goes, no, you're good. He goes, wait, you got some good stuff. I said, really? I said, oh, that's cool. Yeah, he says, you know, it's gonna be good. I said, all right. And I'm walking away. He goes, oh, I forgot to tell you. You're gonna be blowing a guy. I said, what? Are you fucking kidding me? And I go, holy fuck. I said, not only are they doing it, I'm gonna get fucking killed in my neighborhood. Because nobody fucking breaks balls as good as guys from Brooklyn. And I'm thinking, this is not what I had in mind. So,
Did it twig with you then, though? Like going back to the previous years, going, gave the book, careful what you wish for.
I said, yeah, careful what you wish for. You know, I figured, you know, well, first of all, I was on the wrong end of that blowjob.
Gotcha, not bitch.
And it's not what I really had in mind. I figured I'd get blowed, I'd beat the shit out of the guy, you know, one of those guys. But, so I said, I know real guys, they're not gonna fucking like it. And my friends are gonna fucking break my balls. So I get to the studio, and everybody's downstairs waiting to go up and reading. There's a huge table, whoever's in that episode, they would do a read-through so the writers could hear the actors say the words. So as soon as I get there, I'm parked in the lot, I'm walking to everybody, and Paulie Walnuts, Tony Sirico, says, you know my friend Joe the cocksucker? I said, here we go. And so Stevie Van Zandt says, Joe, they're gonna kill you in the neighborhood, and they're gonna break your balls. And then Jimmy says, took me aside and he said, look, if you're uncomfortable with this, you don't want to do it, we'll go talk to David right now. And I said, you know, I kind of asked for this. It's not what I had in mind. But I don't want it to be like the Russian, that I just do it and you forget about it. So we did go to speak to the writers, and they said, we're going to do that this season, but be ready for next season because it's going to be a big year. So that's what happened. Now, doing that changed my life. And I wanted to prove that I can act to me and prove to me that I can act and prove that I wanted more roles from it, you know, because it's easy to play a wise guy.
Yeah.
You know, I know the mannerisms, I know how they talk, I know, you know, it was easy. It wasn't much of a challenge. So there's a famous line. I was doing an appearance with a couple of guys, and Big Pussy. They asked him, "Is there any role that you wouldn't play?" And he said, "I won't play a gay guy." I said, and they looked at me and I laughed. He said, "Give me the mic." I said, "I'd rather suck cock than rat on my friends." I think I invented the mic drop. So,
As kind of all joking aside, though, the kind of representation of you bringing that at around 2005, 2006, again, was ahead of its time. You know, it's all over TV now, that type of representation. But it was an interesting from a challenge, as you say, from an acting point of view, but also to have that in the public consciousness, which is kind of everywhere now, but it wasn't then.
it was groundbreaking. Certainly in a mob show, I was the poster boy for GLAAD, right? Gay, lesbian, whatever the fuck it stands for. GLAAD. So they loved me and they were like, "Oh, you're so great." And like I said, I have a lot of ideas and I come up with a lot of things and most of them work. One that backfired on me was I came up with my own pool stick. And you know that how they killed me is they beat me to death and shoved the pool stick up my ass. So the tagline was, my pool stick was, "Does this cue make my ass look fat?" So they got fucking annoyed and and got in touch with it. I had to pull the fucking cue off the market. But
even within all that, though, even the kind of the symbolism and the iconography throughout season 6, which most TV shows, when they get to their final season, start to wrap it up. They introduce a whole new arc, pretty much, for you as a character, as an actor. But even on your scene when you were being killed, and I had that mad scene with Phil opening, like literally being in the closet and opening up, coming out of the closet. So it had that kind of, undertones of kind of sexual frustration for men throughout that whole thing. It was really weird. Not weird, but it was just, the way it was done was quite subtle.
So the whole thing is that, I think at one point, at the beginning of season 6, or somebody refers to him as a metrosexual. Whatever the fuck that is. I don't know. And he, you remember him gripping the bed with his right hand. I don't know if he was getting getting beat.
Oh, when Phil was watching you being killed.
Right,
Yeah.
It was groundbreaking in probably 06, maybe that was?
Yeah.
And a lot more of it became prevalent. Probably now, I would get fucking canceled because I wasn't a gay guy playing a gay guy. If anything, I'm a lesbian because I love fucking broads. So it wasn't easy. Now, the guy that played Johnny Cakes, my friend Tim, who first got me introduced to acting, that was a friend of his. And we did a short film together, and I knew him. He was a gritty New York actor that the casting directors from The Sopranos loved. He did a lot of movies. He was what they call, and you guys would know it better than me, dark Irish. I don't know what the fuck that is. I think I know. But he wound up taking his own life, unfortunately. But he was a great actor. And when I walked in to read scenes with him, I was like, "Oh, John, what's up?" I had no idea they were going to bring him in. He wound up playing Johnny Cakes. And
Well, that whole thing in New Hampshire, from an acting point of view, was amazing. That you're doing scenes on your own, and when you shot the guy that you crashed into on the road, all those scenes on your own were quite powerful. Again, from an acting point of view, from a character point of view, it must have been great to stretch yourself to do those type of things.
You know, when I look back, right, you know, I had one scene, and then I had a whole season 6 pretty much devoted to my character. What I wasn't in the episode, they were talking about me. But a funny thing is that there was a scene where we're in a grass field, hay field, whatever the fuck it was. We're on bikes and we're rolling around and fucking making out. And I had to call makeup and I said, listen, ho, your fucking mustache is going in my mouth and it's making me nauseous. So I said, you gotta fucking brush it up or do something with it because I'm gonna throw up. So I said, look, let's just fucking do it and get out of here, get it over with. So we did that. That was kind of funny. So there's a lot of reasons why I don't watch the show. I don't like seeing Jimmy. I don't like seeing the pain I was in. I was doing 10, 12 fucking Advil just to get through the pain I was in. Every step was like torture. I mean, I play golf every day and I walk the course, but back then I couldn't take a step without pain. They had to get doubles for me. When I shoot that guy after the accident, I had to go down a little step. It was snow, and they had to get a double for that. I go, I'm gonna fucking fall. I can't do it. Yeah.
When you say you can't watch the show because of James Gandolfini having passed, it kind of has come out over the years that David Chase and himself had a kind of very strained relationship towards the end of The Sopranos and kind of after that. What was your relationship with James Gandolfini like?
So James and I weren't very close. He came to my wedding and he spoke. Came with his son. The whole cast came. Someone from, I'll get to the line that they had the best line of the night. He came to my restaurant. All of the actors were doing like every month I'd have someone else. I'd get a big crowd to meet the fans, take pictures, sign autographs. And, you know, again, he took me aside and would have, let's go talk to David. So he was fond of me. I was fond of him. Something happened at an award show that strained our relationship, and with a lot of the actors, well, a lot of the actors, but it was brought on by one particular actor. But that was my relationship with Jimmy.
Right.
And Jimmy was nothing like his character. He was tremendously talented. He was in the restaurant business. I think he was a bartender. We worked with a chef that I knew and he knew. And I mean, he passed away at 51. The height of his fucking career. So that said, yeah. Oh, now we're stepping it up. Now we're fucking stepping it up. No more fucking baby shots.
Don, just give him the bottle.
As you were saying there about the season 6 was all about you even when you weren't in it. One of the best scenes of season 6 is when it comes back that you might be homosexual and they're all in the back of Bada Bing talking about it. And you can see that some of the characters are kind of don't want to get you killed, or the character killed, and some are going, no, kill him. And everyone's kind of figuring out what way to go. So it's a great kind of moment. It's probably a 4 or 5 minute scene. It's a great moment, you know, from your own point of view of what they were talking about, but how they handled that within the show as well, I thought. It's great.
I'm going to get to that question, but I don't want to forget Stevie.
Sure, yeah.
So, yeah. So, at my wedding, I had like 450 people. I got married very late, 46, and I had the cast there, and a lot of real guys. Bless you. A lot of real guys there, and friends and so on. So everybody from the cast, they got fucking hammered. They sang, they talked, they talked about the show, talked about me. This is like '06, but before camera phones came out. I had cameras on the table so everybody could take pictures. So they all said something. Stevie Van Zandt says, I want this date to go down in history, that on this night, the crime in New York City dropped by 50%. Because all the fucking mobsters were at my wedding. So. It's a great line. But I'm sorry. So, go ahead.
Yeah, just when you were talking about the, all of season 6 was pretty much about you, even the scenes you're not in. But that great little scene in Back to Bada Bing where they find out, where someone tells them, Finn comes in and tells them that, he's seen you blowing a guy, the whole thing. And they have this kind of mad conversation about, let's kill him, no, don't kill him, you can't judge him, you can't do this. So again, from an acting point of view, looking in, it would have been it was handled very, very well.
What was the last part?
It was just handled so well the way they did that.
So, Tony was trying to live with it. It's whatever his date he said, 19. I don't know whatever year it was. He goes, hey, live and let live. Meanwhile, I was the big earner. I was making the money, and live and let live. And I got my own problems, but in the end, they stopped doing business with him at the end. So it's getting a little noisy back there. Get all fucking noisy.
We're talking about you.
Yeah. Whisper when you talk about me. So, if it wasn't, I lost my, what was
about the scene in Bada Bing where Finn tells
Yeah. So they thought I was pitching, not catching. Where is it? And, they were like, live and let live. And so bottom line is they were going to stop doing business with Tony and stuff. And that was probably coming from the New York mob, So the decision had to be made, and, I had to go. And somebody wanted my position, take over my things. It's always about fucking money with the mob. Always.
Yeah. And were you able to bring, even at that late stage, were you able to bring in some of that kind of thinking from your own background into, as you're saying about the earning and, the mob and having money there? Were you ever even able to talk about it to the writers even in season 6?
No. I never suggested anything. You couldn't change a fucking word on the show. It was, in movies, you have a little leeway. You could ad-lib, and if it works, the director will let you do it. With The Sopranos, you couldn't change a word. I remember I wanted to say, my character says, hey, and I would say, oh, take it easy. And I said, my character wouldn't say hey, I don't say hey, I say oh. So they had to call upstairs to the writer's room. It was like a half hour, discussing it. And word come back, and I said, my character wouldn't say that. So the director came over, and he said, David said, who said it's your character? And I said, oh, all right, that's a good point. And he goes, you're going to say hey. And I said, okay. So, what was the question?
That's the question. Ask and answer. So when you find out that you're going to be killed, I suppose it's kind of a similar thing. You don't go, can I hang around for the few episodes? It's kind of, that's it.
So I knew I was walking a razor's edge there. I was trying to make it the last part of season 6. We knew it. There was 2 parts of season 6. I was trying to make it to the next season, So I went in and talked to David. I said, David, I know I'm going, I know I'm getting killed in the next episode, but look, Jimmy sees, has a heart. He wants to see, live and let live, and I'm his big earner. I don't know what the fuck I said. I talked for about 3 or 4 minutes. He sat there, and all he said was to me was, "You're going." I said, "Listen, all right, thank you. It's been 39 episodes. You know, I went from Gino to this. Thank you. One last shot. Can I live?" And he didn't fucking answer me. So David was, he maybe talked to me once or twice. You know, he stopped me and, you know, and just said, "Hey, you're doing really good work." And I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. But very seldom. You know, I got married on a Saturday. Monday I was back at work. Never fucking said congratulations, good luck, sorry I couldn't make the wedding, whatever. So I'm glad because everybody let their head down. But yeah, he was, you know, like most geniuses, a little bit of he's a little eccentric.
And were you happy then with the way the character went out after the 39 odd episodes? Were you happy that kind of went the full arc and the way he was killed off? Were you happy with it in the end?
It was pretty gruesome. I mean, I didn't catch a bullet in the back of the head, which was nice. It was creative. You know, got beat up with a bull stick and shoved up my ass. I can't complain. It's one of the most gruesome fucking endings, you know. So me and Adriana had bad ones, but you didn't see hers. Well, you didn't see mine either. I think they had it on the ceiling.
Yeah.
You know, so which was pretty cool. And that hotel used to be in, it was in Jersey. You come over a bridge, and I used to fucking pass it, and I go, that's the fucking room I died in. They knocked down that hotel. I wish I would have had a picture of it.
Speaking of creative deaths, Phil, who instigated your death, his death was mental. It was really, really weird, like really bizarre. That we got shot in the car driving over his head, and the whole thing was just mad. So again, from a character point of view, it's been nice to see him go out that way.
Yeah, they pretty much came up with creative ways to kill guys, you know? Not everybody died by a shot in the back of the head, you know? Yeah, that was good. Phil was great, and now he was, when I got to work with him, especially at the wedding with Johnny Sack's wife's getting married, he was in one of my favorite movies of all time, which sort of got me thinking about acting. And I was obsessed with this movie. And I think I was a chef at the time, and if I was with a girl, we went home, we watched the movie. She goes, it's fucking 3 a.m, you putting on a movie? I go, no, I just want you to watch a little bit of it. It was called Raging Bull. I don't know if anybody's ever seen it.
Yeah.
About Jake LaMotta, Robert De Niro. Of course, now De Niro's a big douchebag in my eyes. It was, you know, Martin Scorsese, Raging Bull. Yeah, that was. Why did I talk about that?
Because you were talking about Phil's death, and you.
Phil, yeah. So I don't know who's seen Raging Bull. Yeah. Okay. So we're sitting at a table. We're at Johnny Sack's wedding. And I remember, he's another actor that's passed away. I remember putting napkins in my mouth and saying to him, hey, Ray, you never got me down, Ray. You never got me down, I'm still standing, Ray. But it's a great scene about Jake LaMotta and Sugar Ray Robinson.
And with because just to dovetail out of that for a moment, you're a big boxing fan as well, aren't you? The people that
I'm a big Muhammad Ali fan. Not so much boxing now, but sports, football, baseball, hockey. My 2 biggest thrills was Muhammad Ali coming to the studio, and I got a picture with him. I had 3 idols. Him, a tremendous football player who was in a scene that I got to act with, which is like unbelievable. And a guy named Jackie Robinson, who I'm, not going to meet till I'm dead.
Not for a long time yet, hopefully.
What's that?
Not for a long time yet.
Could happen any time.
Yeah, you never know. Speaking of, there's a great documentary on Netflix called The Danbury Thrashers. Have you seen that? About the mob in Danbury, Connecticut, with owning an ice hockey team and
Yeah, it's based on Louis.
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw that.
wild story.
There's also on, I don't know if it's on Netflix, it's called Fear City. It's guys that control concrete and in New York City. That's worth seeing too. There's about a handful, maybe 5, 6, 7 movies that you should watch if you're a mob fan. Papa Grimm's Village, Bronx Tale, Godfather, Raging Bull, of course The Sopranos, Goodfellas, Casino. What's that? Once Upon a Time in America. Exactly. It's a handful, but those were all like masterpieces. So. Kill the Irishman did not do well. State of Grace was great.
Yeah.
It was about the Irish Westies. That was good. Very good. Gary Oldman. Fucking
Sean
genius.
Penn and-
Sean Penn.
Yeah.
John Turturro.
Yeah.
Great shit.
Yeah. When you finished up then The Sopranos, from an acting point of view, did you kind of look at it and go, I've had enough now of acting, I want to do something different, I want to, because you're kind of now doing kind of, you're back into the kind of chefing world, so are you kind of, where are you with acting at the moment?
Mostly, it's been porn. With farm animals. So I'm still working, I'm in front of the camera. And it pays well. So the whole thing about doing what I didn't really fucking materialize, but that's okay. I got a book published, it was loosely based on my life as a chef called A Meal to Die For. I've been a spokesperson. I've been able to get my own products out there. I'm about to open up in the fall, and this is fucking genius, because I'm good with this shit. I went to go cook down in a restaurant in Florida. In Dublin, someone follows me and I cook. I do private parties where someone's a big fan, they get a gift for their father, their husband, or just friends. And I have an assistant, I shop for the ingredients, I'm there about 10 hours. I do a big array of appetizers. I do shrimp scampi tasting. I do choice of pasta and an entree. But before that, I was doing cooking in restaurants where I cooked carbonara out of a Parmesan wheel. And someone saw that, brought me down to Florida. And hey, they said, we love you. We want to do something with you. Do you have any ideas? I said, well, I got an idea for a full-scale restaurant, which we're going to do. But I have also something, it's really quick, and it's on the west coast of Florida, and I have a great name for it. And they said, what is it? And I said, it's Bada Berg. And I said, so it's the same logo as Bada Bing, except the girl is a cow. And she's got udders. And it says, our burgers are a hit. So hopefully that'll be open in the fall. So I'm doing my first passion is cooking and food. That's what I love. That all cuisine interests me,
Yeah.
And of course acting. I did a pilot last year with Kate Bosworth. Spent 10 days in Montana. It's called Bring On the Dancing Horses. It got great reviews in Sundance, and I'm waiting for it to come out. Hopefully, I'm sure it will, because her husband is a really very big director. They since split, but I'm sure it's going to get picked up. So, Bring On the Dancing Horses. It's a good pilot. So, if acting doesn't happen, that's fine. I was on The Greatest Show Ever. I had a prolific role, and as long as I could make money, I don't really give a fuck.
That's a good note to me to hand it over to the audience. Has anybody got any questions they want to ask of Joe?
Okay, buddy.
On The Sopranos, you worked with an extremely talented bunch of actors.
Uh-huh.
So, who would be your favourite actor from The Sopranos?
So I get asked that, and being in Ireland, you're not gonna know who the fuck Lawrence Taylor is. But the scene with the executive, wasn't really an executive card game, it was a card game. It was with David Lee Roth from, who the fuck was he from? Van Halen, right. I didn't even fuck about him. Lawrence Taylor, it's like, I don't know, who's everybody's favorite fucking soccer player? It's like doing a scene with him. Who?
Messi.
Messing. It's like doing a fucking scene with him, and I was like, he's in the fucking scene, and I was like, listen to every story that he could fucking possibly tell, taking pictures of them, and I was like, this is fucking great. By the way, I gotta tell you, I mean, maybe someone's gonna ask it, but remind me to tell you, people always ask, what did you enjoy filming most? I'll tell you, if someone doesn't ask, which now someone's gonna ask, because yeah. So my favorite thing to film was a 4-hour bada bing scene where I get a fucking 4-hour lap dance. And so the guy that it was my mole with
He was in the middle of it.
yeah, tell me what was going on. This is fucking dead. Died. 2 charges? Oh, there you go. He would pair us up. You know, this is the back room of the bada bing. And it would be, he would come over and tell this girl, listen, if you really do a really good job, David might notice, you get maybe a role, some lines, and, you know, you never know. So when he walked away, I would say, listen, honey, whatever you want to do to me, I'm with you, I'm going to support you. So that would go on for like hours. That was like the best. I was like, this is a fucking great job. So, but what was your question? Who I like? Oh, no, so it was Lawrence Taylor. Yeah, and then there were a lot of great, Lauren Bacall, Ben Kingsley, Hal Holbrook. I mean, so many great actors passed through. I didn't work with all of them, obviously,
I think an excellent actor for The Sopranos was Joseph Serrato. Johnny Boy Soprano.
Yes,
He was bloody class.
he passed.
He had a very small role, but he was there.
Yeah, he was great. It was Tony's father, right? Yeah. Johnny Boy Soprano. He was great. The young junior was great. But yeah, he passed. I mean, a lot of fucking actors that passed. They had an open call where anybody could come and audition for a role on The Sopranos, and 18,000 people showed up. They shut down New Jersey. One of the roles that went to was Johnny Sack's wife, Denise Perino. She had some good roles. She passed. So hopefully you're not saying, I remember Vito when he came, he passed. You know?
Anyone else any questions?
If you could have chosen your character, who would you have chosen and why?
Well, I would have chosen Vito.
Well, besides Vito.
Well, I would say Uncle Junior. Uncle Junior had great lines. Your sister's cunt. By the way, it's one of the fucking things I love about Ireland. So just this morning, right? I didn't drink last night, my friend did. And he got fucking hammered. So I was up early, 7 o'clock. I knock on his door, and I go, oh, cunt, you up? And right up like a few doors away, I went, oh, I'm sorry, I'm not you. And she's laughing. So I said, this is the only fucking country you can say cunt and it's not a big fucking deal. But Uncle Junior, that's one of the, he slips in the bathtub and he goes, your sister's cunt. And they never fucking hear that in American TV.
Anyone else? Anyone?
Hi Joe. Lawrence Taylor was a defensive linebacker, wasn't he, for the Giants?
Yeah, he was a linebacker. He was all over the field. Very good.
But just a quick one. It's did you listen to the podcast that Steve Sharippa and Michael Imperioli did?
That cunt.
The question was going to be, why weren't you on it?
So one of those guys I had a problem with. And we were close. They were all at my wedding. So what happened was, we were at the Emmys, the red carpet. I don't go to a fucking lot of Emmys. At that time, there was a show called Grey's Anatomy. Anybody? It was alright. Yeah, it was alright. If you're a fucking nurse, maybe you like it, I don't know. So at the time, there was a black actor, Isaiah Washington, who called one of the actors who was queer a fag, and they fired him. And I was walking up the line, and someone says, hey, does anybody use the F word? I'm thinking, fuck, the word fuck. I go, of course, we all do, it's a fucking mob show. They go, really? I go, yeah. And they go, does Jimmy? I go, of course he does. The next day I read in the fucking papers that they're not saying the word fuck, they're saying fag. And that, I was fucking mortified. And I said, holy motherfucker. So I went to his room, I said, Jim, I don't know what the fuck they were talking about. When he got home, there were like fucking people protesting in front of where he lived. And it's getting fucking noisy back there. Cunts. So that started one of those guys on that show. That was it. Now that guy, he's named after a fucking fish. Nemo? No. There you go. Whatever. So he was the type of guy that had a big bowl of ice cream in front of him, and he looked at yours. It's one of those guys. Whenever they took a picture, he was always behind Jim. He was just a motherfucker. So he jumped on that, and I think he was, I don't want to say it, but he was a little envious that a lot of the work I got because whatever. And he made a big fucking beef, and the papers picked up on it, and when Jimmy passed, he had done something with the big New York paper, and I called up the fucking writer because they came out with a story about Jimmy's demons, and the whole world was fucking mourning, especially New York. This guy went to Afghanistan, was fucking beloved, and he didn't fucking, I can't explain, but I called up the fucking writer, and I had a writer coming to the house, a newspaper guy, or television guy, reporter, interviewing me about Jimmy. And I was on the phone with this fucking reporter, and I ripped him a fucking new asshole. I called him, you motherfucker, if I ever see you. He wrote about Jimmy's demons, which we all have our demons. And Jimmy's had a past and whatever, and he capitalized on that, and he brought it out. So it really fucking irked me. And this guy never referenced it. How he could even talk to the paper was beyond me. So I mentioned that, and then he started a fucking vendetta against me, and it was the front page of the fucking paper. So since then, we never talked. He asked me to be on this fucking podcast. I was playing golf, I got a text, I'm thinking, is he fucking kidding me? I was gonna say about 1 million things to him, and I just said, I'm good, I'm gonna pass. So he asked me if I ever been on the podcast. No.
Any other questions from anyone?
What's that?
Okay.
Without me being on it? Or, yeah. Well, I don't think Drea was on it, and she was close to Michael.
Oh yeah, she's her own.
Yeah. What? She has her own, so I don't know what happened there. But I don't know, a couple of us might have. Maybe Ralphie wasn't on it, you know?
Paulie wasn't on it either.
Paulie was on. Paulie Walnuts, he's a little up there in age, so he's not in the best of shape. Uncle Junior's 88 years old and sharp as a tack. He's been married 7 times, by the way. Anyone else with a question? Yes.
Hi, Joe. In 2022, The Sopranos is still watched by millions of new young people. What is it that you think about the show that gives it the title often of the greatest show of all time?
What makes it the great show of all time?
Yeah.
Well, in America, mob shows have always been the most popular. Since 20s, 30s, 40s, James Cagney, Humphrey Bogart, and so on. The Sopranos still hold up production-wise. It doesn't look dated. A lot of kids that couldn't watch it back then come up to me and I just started watching it. I'm in college, so on and so forth. So that's what makes it so popular. Yes.
Vito. Joe.
Yes.
My question is, I met you 5 years ago in
I remember.
New York. You remember?
I can't even fucking remember like 3 nights ago. And I'm not going to remember tonight. And we're going to take a fucking break because I got to go to the bathroom.
But
So,
the
but go ahead.
$50 I lent you,
What's that?
I never got that $50 that I lent you.
You lent me, huh? I gave it to your friend.
No. But what I was going to ask you is, I done the Sopranos tour, which I actually went there for my 50th birthday 5 years ago, and it was the highlight. It was absolutely brilliant. The whole Sopranos tour, it's absolutely brilliant. Are you still involved? You came on the bus that day and you spoke to us. You signed a few autographs and stuff for us. Are you still involved in that?
Alright, I need a translator because let's get to that fucking point.
No, the thing,
Yes. Okay, the tour. So quite a few people have come to me. So I used to do the Sopranos tour where they met in the city and they went to all the locations. And I used to open up my trunk, I had pictures, license plate, you know, it's the fucking hustler in me, right? I was the only guy doing it. And a lot of people have come up to me and said, hey, remember this picture, And of course I do. I stopped doing it since the pandemic. I'm deathly afraid of the fucking city. It's a fucking shithole. I won't go in there. And anybody going to fucking Manhattan, don't go out at night, don't take the city, make sure you bring a knife with you. And that's what I think of fucking New York. Until we get the liberal cunts out. Alright, I'm gonna fucking take a peek.
Let's go, Brandon.
Hold that fucking, hold that thought. They should have had a fucking little porta potty right here. By the way, I'm gonna tell you.
Joe, piss in the glass.
My favorite scene was Finn coming out of the porta potty. I love that fucking scene. That's my favorite scene. I'll be right back. You have no questions?
We're just going to do about 10-15 minutes more questions. But Joe will be hanging around. If you want to talk to him later on or take a picture, he'll be here. I just let anyone know here who doesn't know that there's a band going to be playing here as soon as we leave. We're setting for a band, so we're going to hang around for this evening.
Joe's alright.
There'll be band playing here as well, so if you want to hang around for that too for the rest of the evening. But we're going to just take a couple more questions before we wrap it up. So I know there's a couple of hands shot up there for a few minutes ago. Yourself? Yep, hang on, one second. Good to go, yeah.
Well, yeah, I want to say that I'm going to take pictures with everyone. So just have your camera phones ready. I bang them out with selfies. So we could just like, when you're ready for that. No charge for the pictures, but I do have soprano hats, which I will sign, and those are. Say it again.
20 euro each.
20 euros. 20 euros. So we'll do that as soon as I'm done. We'll take pictures with everybody. No picture if you don't get a hat. I'm kidding. And did I miss any questions? Yes, you again in the red sweater. Speak.
Did you see The Many Saints of Newark?
Oh, good question. Nobody asked that yet. So I did not see it.
It's well worth a watch, man. Good one.
It's what?
It's well worth a watch.
Oh, you're sophisticated, I could see. Because a lot of people didn't like it in the US. I had a feeling. They canceled it like 3 times to reschedule. And one thing I know about Soprano fans, if you don't give them fucking mafia shit and fucking broads, they don't give a fucking shit about political statement, blacks, or any of that shit. They want mob stuff. So I had a feeling it wasn't going to do that well. And who said that about the movie? Yeah. So you probably loved the ending of The Sopranos, which I did too. You did. A lot of people hated the ending of The Sopranos because they wanted closure. Now, who thinks that Tony died? Who thinks that he lived? Yeah. So I always said that he lived, and
If you look at the credits at the end, it shows that actual But
you know, there's no script. First of all, I was watching it with 20 guys in South Philly, and I looked at him and I go, "You fucking kidding me? Your TV went out? Are you fucking?" I said, "It can't be a blackout. Your fucking lights are on." So my TV went out like everyone else's. Second thing is that there was a lot of tension building with meadow parking and guys coming in and out of the fucking restaurant. And I know that fuckface said it all goes black, right, when you go. But I don't think he got killed because he wouldn't get killed in front of his family. We're not Colombians. And what was that? Kinheads? Irish mafia. Yeah, we wouldn't do that there. I think the door closed and his life just went on. That's what I think. It was all tension building, and that's the way fucking Chase wanted it to end. He had that ending all along, and the door just closed and life went on. That's what I think. And you don't want to see him killed. You don't want to see him arrested. He's not going to do anything else. You know, it's Tony Soprano. So that's what I think. Yes.
And so you were happy with the ending.
I love the
A lot
ending.
of people had a negative reaction. How did you feel towards that?
People that didn't like the ending,
Yeah.
the uneducated. I don't mean to mock. I don't mean to mock anybody, but you know, I think that it was a beautiful way to end it. It's had everybody talking to this day. 14 years later, we're still talking about the fucking show. And there's been a lot of great shows, especially maybe like The Wire, Breaking Bad. Everybody likes Sopranos, loves those. I don't know what other fucking shows that you could put in there. But in New York, or in the country, in the US, when the show was on, restaurants emptied out at 8 o'clock. And by 9 o'clock, you couldn't fucking call somebody. I know when I watched it at my house, I had 20 people there. I go, don't fucking talk. Don't fucking laugh. Because you're going to miss a line. And you had to fucking wait. You couldn't pause it. You couldn't rewind it. You couldn't do anything. So it was like serious fucking business. And you weren't talking about it the next day at work. You see what happened, this, that, and everything. All the radio stations used to talk about it. Sports shows. But my fucking head popped up with the security guard. That was big shit. I was with fucking 20 guys watching that. And I go, they're gonna fucking flip. And Howard Stern, anybody hear of Howard Stern? I was a big fan, stand up. He turned into another big cunt. But he was fucking talking about it, and I called into the show because I knew the producer Gary, and he goes, you sound like fun. You should come with us to Vegas. And this was I don't know, 03, 04, whatever. I fucking hung out with them for 5 days. I got fucking hammered with Artie Lang. I don't know if you know Artie Lang. He's a comedian. He's a funny fuck. But we got hammered. Anyway, I was losing my fucking train of thought.
Another question down here.
Yeah, I was just wondering, what was your reaction when you ended up turning up to work and going to wardrobe for the gay scene where you had the dress and that? Did you enjoy that one? Was it a bit of a shock that morning?
That's a good question. So they said, Joe, can you come up and you got to try on some costumes? I go, okay. And they go, these are your other chaps. I go, I'm fucking wearing those? They said, yeah. I go, I'm not fucking wearing them assless. They said, no, you're gonna have dungarees. I said, okay. And they said, we got a dog collar. Did I have a dog collar on? I don't know if I had a dog collar. And I had the leather cap, and I did a talk show where the guy gave me a leather cap. So, now, that scene, we rented out, or they rented out a empty warehouse.
The Blue Oyster Bar.
And those guys in that scene were real fucking hardcore leather guys from the village of New York City. They put up a flyer, they bust them in, and I remember the Teamsters saying, Teamsters are like the guys who run the trucks and drive us around. He said, we're not fucking eating lunch with those guys. These guys could care less about fucking Sopranos, and they were fucking drinking and making out, and who knows what the fuck was going on. And I remember this fucking guy, right? He goes, oh, Joe, I live where you live. I'm a fireman in the neighborhood. And I'm looking at him, and he's got on a fucking leather vest, assless chaps, a fucking cap on. He goes, you should stop by the firehouse. And I'm like, what are you doing here? I couldn't fucking, like, what was going on? And I said, are you an actor or fucking, leather guy? I don't know what the fuck it was. I was trying to fucking figure out what's going on. So that was a funny scene. I remember, I think Buscemi directed that, or Terry Rinto wrote it or directed, I forget. And they said, Joe, this is the last take. You could do what you want. And he sort of had a smirk on his face. And he fucking looked at me, and I go, I think he wants me to fucking kiss the guy. So the guy said to me, well, what do I have to do to buy you a drink? And I go, I don't know what the fuck I said. You just did or whatever. And I grabbed him, and I go, whatever. So, and that guy was like a personal shopper at Barney's. Pretty funny. Yes. So that was the leather outfit.
We have time for 2 more questions. If anyone, hang on.
You're going to get your 2 in.
Hi, Joe. I'm just wondering, did you keep any of the costumes?
I missed that.
Did you keep any of the costumes?
I wish I did. I would have fucking sold them.
Van Gangster.
I think I was able to buy some of the wardrobe. I wish I had the hat. Would have sold it by now. Everything else was, usual mob shit. You got one back there?
Yeah, it's just here.
Go ahead.
Joseph, how are you?
Oh, wait.
Oh, yeah, how are you? Creation. How are you keeping?
What do you hear? What do you say?
Go Jean Gangster. I just want to find out, what was your opinion, or what was your thoughts when you seen the script for your final scene?
Didn't we cover that?
What?
My final scene?
Yeah, your final
The
scene.
pool stick?
When you actually seen the actual script for it, what was going through your head about that?
I think we covered that, didn't we?
Well, you did mention it earlier on, yeah, but
Yeah.
the personal aspect.
I was upset I was going to die. I wanted to make it to next season. You were probably back there fucking talking.
On a serious note, is Donald Trump going to get re-elected?
We can only hope. We can only hope. Shove it up their fucking asses.
Hey, Joe.
You want to get
Hey, Joe. I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
What do you really think of Dundalk? And is the Imperial the best 5-star hotel you've ever stayed in?
All right. So I got, what do you think of Dundalk?
No comment.
All right. So I spent 3 days in Dublin, right? It was nice. Not a shithole. I compare it to like Manhattan and fucking Brooklyn. So me and Johnny are from fucking Brooklyn. The girls are hotter in Brooklyn. Dublin is good, but it's a little artsy. It's a little fucking looser fucking dungarees and jeans and flats. No chaps. I don't see any of those. But the girls are hotter in Dundalk by far. So if I had to live anywhere, it'd be fucking Dundalk.
I haven't seen him after 12, Joe.
And what was the other one? The Imperial Hotel. I guess it's the best for Dundalk. My toilet doesn't really work. I gotta shove my arm down it to get it going. But it's okay. It's quaint, the dining room, and it's good. Do you have one back there? Yes.
Is your favorite number 60?
My favorite number 60?
I want a 1.
69. Whose number isn't favorite 69? I'm always up for a 69. Yes.
These days, the media is very woke and everything about it is PC. So maybe back when The Sopranos was made, it might not have been made now. How do you feel with actors working these days portraying dramas compared to the freedom they previously had?
Yeah. So she wants to know about the fucking woke media and all the douchebags and whatever.
I was trying to be nice.
Yeah. Don't be fucking nice. We're friends now. We're all gonna get fucking hammered tonight. We don't really give a fuck. So I always, I said, my character probably wouldn't fucking fly now. There's probably shit that you probably couldn't say, 15 years ago. But I think they would still hold true to who they are. They probably, listen, it happened with the many states of Newark, right? They got a little woke. That's why it didn't do as well. It was just the right time at the right place. Everything fucking worked.
you know, different actors. Well, Stevie Van Zandt was tried out for Tony and Ray Liotta from Goodfellas. But could you picture anybody else as Tony Soprano than James Gandolfini? So it was the right time, right place, and that's one of those things that could definitely happen. Would it fly now as much? Maybe they would have dealt with the the issues of today. I'm not too sure how Tony would have felt about Trump. It would have probably been about the way Chase thinks, I think. And HBO and all that fucking nonsense. So, I don't even know if that answers your question.
It's different times. So
Different times.
do you feel
Like I said, I would.
lucky you had the opportunity back then because the opportunity would have been different now?
I was in the right. We all were right place, right time. I'm the most fucking luckiest, blessed guy there is. But I made my own breaks. They don't fucking do that storyline. I'm not fucking here getting whacked.
Yep, that's it. Yeah. So I think we'll leave it on that note. So thank you, Joe.